Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is. Welcome back to the Secrets of a Ghostwriter. Today, let's tackle a massive question. Do I need an agent? Well, unhelpfully, the answer is either yes or no. But let me take from my sort of personal case studies and give you a story which demonstrates that you might not know who you know, and you really should tap up anybody that can help you if you are going down that path. But look, let's not sit on the fence. Do you need an agent? Yes or no? I really think it comes down to your levels of self-belief. So as you're writing that manuscript, do you feel inside that this is a volcano about to explode? Do you have that sort of voice in your head which says this is pretty damn good? If you're at that level of belief, then I would be looking towards an agent. If you are starting out in your career and you sort of testing the water, well, I know I've got a book in me. Let's just see how this goes. Then really don't put yourself through the stress of looking for an agent. How do you find an agent? Well, there are plenty of lists online. I think one thing that's really important to do, we talked in a previous tutorial about becoming part of the industry. And one thing you can do is shape your social media. So start following publishers and agents and anyone connected with the book world. You'll soon streamline the type of person that is in your feed. And that's really good because you learn about the industry, you feel part of the industry, and other people might start to notice you. So back in the old days, when we might send a letter and get no reply, we've obviously cut through all of those barriers now. So I mentioned you don't know who you know and tap into your contacts. I'm just going to tell you a little story here about how I got an agent for the first time. And yeah, I did know that I was sitting on a volcano that was about to explode. I'm referring to the book that I refer to most, which is Tango 190 for the late PC David Rathband, the British policeman who was shot by the gunman Raoul Moat and then later took his own life. So this is a massive name drop, but I reckon it's probably one of my better stories. I get a phone call in Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England from, well, the ultimate Geordie hero, the football legend, the former England football captain, Alan Shearer. And it's a small world in the northeast of England and people do know each other. And I've been on the radio there for many years, so we knew each other. He says to me, can you get me tickets for my daughters to see Justin Bieber in concert at the arena next week? And I said, no, I can't. But bizarrely, I can set it up so they can meet him. It's strange. You can get into the venue, you can meet him, but you can't stay for the gig. It was just one of these sort of record company things that they had a certain number of people that could meet him and they had a certain number of free seats. So I said, well, look, I can get them to meet Justin Bieber. If you don't know who Justin, anyway. So Alan Shearer says to me, well, look, if you can you get me some tickets and I'll give you the money when I'm back? And I said, well, where are you? And he said, I'm in Qatar. Anyway, about 72 hours later, somehow I pulled in a favor and managed to get the tickets. So I ring Alan back and he says, how much do I owe you? And I said, look, you don't owe me anything, but can you just give me some information? I said, do you know that dodgy book you just published? So Alan had just published a book of his football photos. I think more pictures than words. And it had done pretty well. I said, who published that? Who sold that book? And he said, hang on a minute, I'll call you back. So he rings me back and he says, you need to talk to Humphrey. And I said, well, who's Humphrey? And he said, he sold Kenny's book. I said, well, who's Kenny? Kenny Dalglish? Also a legendary Liverpool and Scottish footballer. And he said, yeah, Humphrey Hunter. And I said, right, but does Humphrey know I'm coming? And he said, yeah, Humphrey's expecting your call. I said, really? He says, yeah. So I've travelled about 3 a.m. in the morning from Cheshire, where I lived, up to Newcastle to do the radio show, a journey I made once a week. Then I'd stay in Newcastle to do the rest of the shows. I'm really tired on the day I've travelled. I've gone for a shower. I'm staying in a functional travel lodge on the quayside in Newcastle. I come out of the shower. Of course, there's a missed call, isn't there? From unknown, the great friend in the wild. So I did have Humphrey Hunter's number, and I ring it back. And he says, can you send me 20,000 words? And I said, no, I can't. I said, it's in all sorts of state, this book. I said, I've not even reread it myself. I've just written it as we go, because we were on a deadline of the first anniversary of David's shooting, but we were also writing in real time because at the time there was a trial ongoing of the two accomplices to David's assassin. He said, look, just send me what you've got. I'll be able to see if you can write or not. And I said, well, I'm a bit uncomfortable about this. This is, now getting on for 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The next morning I come off air from the radio station. It must be 10 o'clock in the morning. And the phone rings. And Humphrey says, I've sold your book. I said, what? You can't have even read it. He said, I've read it. It's great. I love it. 2 people want it. Wow. And then the process played out and we published with Bikeback Publishing in London. It went on at the time to become, I think, the second bestseller for the publisher. I hadn't even met Humphrey at this time. He was just a name in a phone, a name given to me. But I guess I did something I don't normally do there, which is I came out of my comfort zone and cheekily I asked for help. And the opportunity presented itself to me because of the quirk of Alan Shearer ringing up for some Justin Bieber tickets. Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't be here today if that phone call hadn't taken place, but it certainly made a hell of a difference. And from that moment onwards, the doors just began opening in publishing. So just to recap, if you think you're on fire with your story, do try and get an agent, and you will get one if it's that good. The work ultimately is the work, and the work speaks for itself. But if there's any route to it that can unlock all those doors really smoothly, really quickly, as they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, then obviously pursue that path. And you don't know how that conversation might appear in front of you that enables you to get in front of an agent. But if you can see it, then take it. I hope that helps. And I'll see you next time when The Secrets of a Ghostwriter continues.